Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel for another video. Today I'm sitting down to share with you guys our curriculum hits and misses for this homeschool year. And if you missed it, I already put up my morning basket reviews of everything we used for morning time in our homeschool. So you will not hear about those things in this video. This video is specifically going to be focused on the curriculum that I chose for all four of my kids for their grade level specific subjects. I'm going to go through it. I couldn't go and grab everybody's things. That just was not gonna happen for me today. So you'll have to imagine with me a book in my hand to see, or I'll link everything down below, or at least the website where you can go and find it if you're interested in it. So we're gonna go through everything in a subject format: math, science, history. I'll share with you what we use this year in case you missed it or you're new to my channel, and then I will tell you what we thought of it. And if it was a hit, which means yes, I loved it, I would use it again, or if it was a miss, and I would say we would not necessarily use it again. Now, if you are new to my channel, let me briefly give you a rundown. My oldest is in 11th grade. The one right behind her is in 10th grade. The one right behind him is in 8th grade, and the one right behind him is in 6th grade. So those are the grades that I'm speaking to in this video. Another thing you should also know about me is that I am not a homeschool mom who changes curriculum companies very often. In fact, hardly ever, unless there is a good reason to do so. I have found extreme value and seen a lot of fruit come from being very consistent in my curriculum choices in my homeschool for the last 10 years. So that's the other thing. There's gonna be a lot more hits than there will be misses because of that, right? Everything I use, I've pretty much used for multiple years. And so there would not be, something super unexpected. Although last year I filmed this video and I did have a few misses. And this year I also have, let's see, I'm looking at my list. I have one miss for you guys. The rest we really like. So spoiler alert, maybe you don't even need to watch the whole video now. But let's jump into it. I'm gonna start with math. All right, for math for my oldest two, they use Shorman Mathematics. They were both in pre-calculus this year, my 11th and my 10th grader, both in pre-calculus, and I cannot sing enough praises for Dr. Shorman and the Dive Online team and the pre-calculus course. I'm telling you guys, this math company is such a blessing. It was an answer to prayer. I could not imagine homeschooling high school without it. It literally changed our homeschool. That's how profound it was. So I highly, highly, highly recommend. In fact, I would recommend no other math course for high school math, basically from pre-algebra on up, besides Shorman Math. I've recommended it so many times. My younger son was also doing Shorman Math this year. He was in Algebra 1 with geometry. The way that Shorman does it is geometry is split into two, and it is put in with Algebra 1 and Algebra 2, so that way you don't have that whole year where you're not doing any algebra and then expected to come back to it the year after. And I highly recommend it. That course, I've gone through it now. This is the third time, and it works so well for all of my kids. They all have different learning styles. They all have different skills and abilities. And I'm telling you, Shorman is amazing, whether your kid is a mathematician, I have one of those, or whether it's a little bit more challenging. I also have one of those. So we love Shorman Math in our home. My youngest daughter was using the Good and the Beautiful's Simply Good and Beautiful Math Level 6. And it is a great fit for her. We love the Good and the Beautiful's math. I love that they do have the video component to the courses. For the upper years, that it's optional. You could teach the lesson yourself if you wanted. And I just love the colors. I love the challenge level of it. I love the review on every lesson. I am just a huge fan of their math. The only thing that I can say for us as a criticism is that I wish this answer guide for parents for Math 6 had the solutions worked out. It has the answers, but it doesn't show how to achieve those answers. And so sometimes that can be difficult, especially if I'm coming back to something in math that I learned in the 6th grade. I mean, this was a long time ago, or something that I haven't done in a while. It takes a minute for me to kind of get my brain going. And so just seeing a solution isn't very helpful for me. And to show her, you know, like step by step, how are we getting here? So that did cause a bit of frustration, especially towards the end of the year with the course, just because of some of those things were a little bit more challenging for her. Thankfully though, I have strong math kids. And so I can ask them, who it's been a little more recent for them to come over and say, hey, do you remember? And then it comes back to them a lot more quickly. So I'm not ashamed to admit that. I wish they had the answers worked out for Math 6. It was only a problem a couple of times, but I'm happy that for next year, Math 7 does have the answers worked out in the solution guide. And I think that that's really important. And I hope that they include that in all of the math courses going forward, even going back a few grades. I mean, I can see why they don't do that for kindergarten math, because it's counting. You don't need to see how 1 + 1 is 2. But for the higher maths, it is helpful for having those solutions worked out. So that is my only criticism of Math 6. Otherwise, it's great. We absolutely love it. And it's worked so well for my daughter. For history, moving into the next subject, I did cover these history courses in my end of the year morning basket reviews, because we do history in our morning time downstairs, just kind of split into 2 groups, my older 2 and then my younger 2. So I have 2 different history courses, both from Knotgrass. One was from Adam to Us, which was creation to cathedrals, and then like something to where we are now, computers. And then American history was the course my older 2 went through. We loved both courses. This was the first year that I bought the literature packs that go along with them for my kids to read a chapter book in accordance with what they're learning about in history. In the past, I probably would have read those aloud, but being that we are where we are in our homeschool, that just wouldn't have necessarily worked out. So I do recommend both of those courses. I think they are great. I think the interest level of your kids on the time period is largely influential on whether or not you enjoy a history course. I personally really enjoy Knotgrass's simple approach to the history lesson. It's moderately done. It's not too much. It's not too little. And the projects and all of the additional things, like even the literature pack, is an optional add-on. So you can really make it as full or as simple as you want. And our homeschool, not even just year to year, but throughout the year, has ups and downs and seasons where we're doing a lot of the projects and then where we're not. And that is just a part of homeschooling. So I do recommend both of those history courses. The Ancient Times one from Adam to Us that I did with my younger 2 kids was very informational to me, especially. I've gone through ancient periods and civilization obviously before, having been homeschooling for a long time, but they touched on a lot of things in Knotgrass that I hadn't necessarily studied or reviewed before, and so we really enjoyed them. For language arts, we use The Good and the Beautiful pretty much across the board, with the exception of my oldest daughter, so we'll cover her at the end. So I used language arts from The Good and the Beautiful level 6 for my youngest, book studies, all of them for my 8th grader, and then high school 3 language arts for my 10th grader. And we have used The Good and the Beautiful language arts in our homeschool consistently since its basic inception, and so I will never change language arts programs. I have seen how it prepares kids for college, which was bringing me to my oldest daughter. She took English 105 and English 106 with Grand Canyon University this year to earn her English credits for her undergraduate degree while simultaneously completing her last year of English required for graduation. And The Good and the Beautiful prepared her so well. So I've loved it forever, and I've seen how incredible it is at doing what it does in such a gentle way. It's never been a pain point in our homeschool. All of my kids, boys or girls, have learned so much. And of course, they enjoy different aspects of it, but it's just such a well done curriculum. We have absolutely loved it. I don't add anything onto it. It is full in and of itself, and it's just been incredible. So highly recommend. All of those are hits. I told you guys, many more hits than misses. As far as why, because I know someone's going to say, wait, your 10th grader did high school 3, why not high school 2? Well, I'll tell you. In hindsight, with my oldest daughter, I had her do high school 1 and then high school 2, her 10th grade year, and then dual enroll her junior year. Well, in hindsight, I wish that I would have done high school 1 in 8th grade, and then high school 2 in 9th grade, and then high school 3 in 10th grade. And the reason why I say that is because the book studies, they can be enough for some kids, but for others it's not. And in general, it was pretty short for all of my kids. So with my daughter, my oldest daughter who dual enrolled, there were some things that were covered in high school 3 that she just didn't get to do because we put her into a dual enrolled English class. So having seen what they wanted as far as like APA format and these different collegiate type things, I knew that that stuff was covered in high school 3. So for my son this year, I said, we're just going to go to high school 3. And there wasn't like anything missing from high school 2. It wasn't like he skipped a whole year or anything. It was just more of a focus on some of those elements that we saw a lot in her college course. So that's why we did that. So that's just a little note, my personal opinion. Moving on to the next subject, which is science. I use BJU Science for all of my children in 8th through high school. So my 8th grader did Earth Science with BJU Press, my 10th grader did Biology, and my 11th grader did Chemistry. So across the board, we love BJU Press for science, especially those higher level sciences, high school, and even that 8th grade and up, for lab experience and just the quality of the materials and the accuracy and the preparatory nature of them. They're challenging courses, but my kids are all very interested in science, and so it's just been a perfect fit. Many of these courses I've gone through 3 times now, Earth Science being one of them. This is the second child going through biology, and then obviously my oldest is the first one doing their chemistry course. But we love them for science. Those are all hits all across the board. Absolutely love their sciences. I get asked a lot about the optional Logos lab kits that are pretty expensive. I will give you guys that. But if you want your children to have quality lab experience, you need to get those lab kits. And if you want to piece them together, you can see what is inside them, but I have just never found there to be a significant savings by doing it that way. So I really recommend budgeting for that. I know it is expensive, but to me it is worthwhile, and I consider all of the ways that I'm saving money homeschooling, and that is just an area that I do not like to scrimp on. Although for chemistry, I do think you can get away without it, because there were only a few experiments where you needed it, and honestly, mixing chemicals and all of that, I didn't know too much about that, but biology, hands down, you need that lab kit. For my youngest daughter, we did The Good and the Beautiful Science. Now I can officially tell you guys all of the units that I chose for her this year we absolutely loved, and they were very appropriate for a middle school level science course. So we did chemistry, we did kingdoms and classifications, and we did the human the human mind. I wanted to take our time with chemistry because obviously that is a challenging subject, and that is why we only did 3 as opposed to 4, which is what I would normally do, 1 per quarter. Those are all really great units for older kids. I'm not saying that they're not for younger, but they're really good for older kids. And the subject matter is more appropriate for someone who is a little bit more, you know, mature and has more knowledge and understanding of things. So we really, really, really loved all of those units, and I love the Good and the Beautiful science. I can proudly tell you guys that I have now done every single science unit the Good and the Beautiful offers, and some of them more than once, which, because my youngest daughter has been along for our homeschool for so many years, some of them she's done multiple times, which is why we are shifting away from the Good and the Beautiful science for next year. It's just we've done them a bunch and it's time for something new. It's not because I don't think that they're adequate, because they are. And if we hadn't gone through some of them twice, then I may come back to them for this 7th grade year for her. But we love the Good and the Beautiful science, so hits across the board for science. Moving on to the last category, which is the elective category. Electives are kind of one of those things where it's like basically everything your kids are learning is an elective. But as far as like specific courses, my youngest daughter did a hymn study with master books. That was really wonderful. I loved it. I would really recommend that for a middle school or late elementary school addition for music or for an elective credit. My son did Spanish 2 with BJU. We absolutely love Spanish through BJU. They have a very strong Spanish program, and it goes to Spanish 3, which my oldest daughter did complete, and he will as well. My older daughter did a few different like campfire curriculum units. One that she really loved was In the Eyes of an ER Provider, because she's interested in that field, and so she really enjoyed those. I would recommend campfire curriculums for electives. She also did a psychology course through Grand Canyon University, so that was a college class but dual enrolled for high school, and she did enjoy the psychology course as well, so that was a great option. My younger son did French with BJU, and this is where I have to tell you that course is a big miss. I would not recommend it. I had him continue with it for the sole fact that it was very expensive, number one, and number two, by the time we were kind of like, this really isn't working well and it's not that well done, we were already too far into the year to turn back on it. So he continued and he learned some things for sure, but they actually have discontinued that course, and I'm glad that they did. They are much better. They are much better than what those videos provide. The videos for the French course were done back in 2002, 2003, something like that, and it was filmed as if like the teacher was teaching a class versus what they are now, which is just the teacher on their set. Very professional, very aesthetic, very well done now. This was not that way. So it was a bit of a surprise for me because I've had this like standard for BJU, and I was surprised that they even were continuing to sell such a low quality option. And like a lot of the activities didn't translate well for homeschooling because again, it was like a teacher teaching a class. And so it was not a hit. It was a miss, and I would not recommend that. I don't know that he's going to continue on with French for his elective. We may come back to it in the future, but next year he wanted to do something different, and I allow for like electives. I want them to kind of enjoy those subjects that they're studying and learning. I do think there's value in foreign language exposure, but I'm not going to force him to do it. And thankfully none of you can buy the French course anymore because it was pretty bad, but Spanish was great and is great. And we're trying another language through BJU, which is the American Sign Language for next year. So I'm excited about that and seeing like the improvements because that is a newer course. But French, yeah, that's the miss. That's the big miss for this year. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this video was informative and helpful for you. Let me know if you have any questions down below. I wanted to sit down and chat with you on all of our end of the year stuff. I think I've covered it all now. So I will probably come back and do a video just solely on dual enrollment and like if I would do it again and all those kind of things. But yeah, I've covered all of our curriculum, so make sure you're hearing our end of the year reviews as well as keeping up with all of our new choices for next school year, which I'm very excited about. So thank you so much for watching. Please give me a thumbs up on this video before you go. It's a free way to support my channel and I really appreciate it. And I will see you guys again in my next one. Bye.